When President Obama was first elected back in 2008, I can recall the transition period because his transition office was literally next door to my office in the federal building in Chicago. I can't think of a more exciting time. Here was my colleague in the United States Senate, had just been elected President of the United States. The whole world was beating a path to his door. Security was at the highest level, and I made a point of not interrupting him, which I would have done regularly when he was my Senate colleague, during this historic and important moment as he prepared to lead America with the blessing and the mandate of the American people. I didn't have a long list of requests. I did, but I didn't exercise it. I just spoke to him once or twice about a couple things that I thought might be helpful to the country and to him. And I recommended to him one person to appoint to his cabinet, one person. I urged him to appoint Ray LaHood as America's Secretary of Transportation. I was confident that Ray LaHood would serve America with the same integrity and energy that he had shown while serving as a member of Congress from our state of Illinois. As Secretary Ray LaHood prepares to leave this important cabinet post, I'm pleased but not a bit surprised to be able to say to the President, I was right. He was an excellent choice. In fact, one of the best ever when it came to the Department of Transportation. Make no mistake, Ray LaHood is a proud Republican. I remember meeting him first when he was a staffer for Bob Michel, who was the Republican leader in the U.S. House of Representatives. Ray was a behind-the-scenes worker for the Republican minority leader in the House, and I knew he was from Peoria, but little else about him. When Bob Michel announced his retirement, Ray LaHood said he was going to run for that position in Congress. What surprised me was that some of my closest Democratic friends in central Illinois said that they were going to financially support and do everything they could to elect Ray LaHood. And I thought, now this is really amazing. These partisan friends of mine think Ray LaHood, a Republican, is a good person for this job. And so I started paying closer attention to this new congressman. As it turned out, we became close friends. We worked together. We had adjoining congressional districts. Eventually, when I was elected to the Senate, we worked all through central Illinois on common projects, and I was happy to do it. Ray was not looking with a great appetite for publicity. He wanted to get the job done, and he didn't mind giving credit to Democrats or Republicans if we could achieve our goals, the local goals that we shared. Well, when he became Secretary of Transportation, I saw that same spirit of cooperation and bipartisanship. Anytime I spoke to President Obama or Vice President Biden about Ray LaHood, their Secretary of Transportation, they always said the same thing. He's the best, and we're sure glad he's part of our team. Well, the President couldn't find anyone better to carry out the transportation agenda for America in his first term. I believe history is going to record Ray LaHood as one of the very best in that position. He put millions of Americans back to work with the $48 billion in transportation funding that was part of President Obama's Recovery Act. He oversaw the creation of the nation's first high-speed rail program, a program that Illinois has participated in with great commitment and excitement. He also helped to create the Tiger program, a $2.7 billion investment in America's future that has built some of our nation's most significant transportation projects. And he helped save lives by focusing personally on our national aviation system. He also had another safety campaign. He conducted what he called, quote, a rampage, close quote, against distracted driving, people who were texting and talking while on the cell phone and trying to drive at the same time. He traveled more widely and more frequently than many professional pilots do. As a Washington Post reporter wrote a while back, there are just two kinds of states where Ray LaHood has been to spread his gospel of safety and to inspect transportation systems, and those states that he plans to visit soon. The people of Illinois are grateful to Ray LaHood, not only for his 4 historic years as Transportation Secretary, but also for his many decades of service as a staffer to Bob Michel and then as a member in his own right of our Illinois congressional delegation. Ray was born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. He stayed true to his Midwestern values throughout his career. He started his public service as a teacher in a classroom. He cut his political teeth working for another top Republican congressman, Tom Railsback, And as I mentioned, then he went on to work for Bob Michel. 1994, he was elected to Bob Michel's congressional seat in the 18th District. District stretches from Peoria south to the state capitol in my hometown of Springfield. It has a history of some pretty outstanding congressmen in that district. I mentioned Bob Michel. I can include Everett McKinley Dirksen as well. And if you go far enough back in history, you'll find there was a young congressman with a part of that district by the name of Abraham Lincoln. Ray's a great student of history. He inspired a great effort to create the Abraham Lincoln Bicentennial Commission, and I was honored to join him as a co-chair with Harold Holzer of New York. We observed President Lincoln's 200th birthday in 2009 with suitable recognition and celebration across America. Ray's work to help students everywhere learn a little bit more about President Lincoln and his role in America's history. Like his famous predecessors, Ray LaHood has raised the standard for civility and cooperation in Congress. In the darkest hours of the House of Representatives, when people are at one another's throats, it was Ray LaHood who reached across the aisle to a Democrat congressman and said, "Why don't we get together on a bipartisan basis with our families for a weekend?" It seems so obvious and easy. Nobody had ever thought about it before Ray. Back in Illinois, Ray used to convene bipartisan meetings with local officials, state representatives, and his dedication to the district and his service in the House earned him a reputation as one of the best. When President Obama nominated Ray for Transportation Secretary, all of us in Illinois knew the president had chosen the right person. Ray's legacy here in D.C. will be substantial, but it will be even greater back in Illinois. He has helped protect and build Illinois during his tenure at the Department of Transportation. It was such a treat to be able to call the U.S. Department of Transportation, speak to the Secretary of Transportation about an Illinois project, and have him know instantly what you were talking about. The O'Hare Modernization Program is a good example. There is hardly a more important economic engine in the northern part of our state than the O'Hare Airport. The modernization of O'Hare had reached a period of some difficulty and controversy. Ray LaHood stepped in, brought the parties together, and kept the nation's largest airport expansion back on track. Secretary LaHood, as I mentioned earlier, brought high-speed rail to Illinois. Last fall, we rode the first 110-mile-an-hour train between Chicago and St. Louis. He helped build a beautiful new terminal at the Peoria International Airport. Secretary LaHood's dedication to Illinois will be felt in every corner of Illinois for generations to come. People will be able to travel faster and more safely because of his work. He will bring new businesses to the state by those transportation investments, creating the jobs that we all want to see. Ray LaHood is a leader with integrity and character. He's also such a good friend. I'm going to miss him as my partner in government when he retires from the Secretary of Transportation. The Washington Post article that I mentioned earlier had a wonderful line. The reporter wrote, quote, "Perhaps the most telling tidbit in LaHood's life is that he's resided in Washington for 30 years without once getting a haircut here. A man truly lives where he gets his haircut, and for Ray LaHood, that's Peoria, Illinois." As Ray LaHood prepares to leave President Obama's cabinet and spend more time with his family, I wish the best to him. His wife, Kathy, who was often at his side, traveling back and forth between Illinois and Washington, will have more time with Ray and more time with their 4 children, Amy, Sarah, Sam, and State Senator Darren LaHood, and their wonderful families, too. I look forward to working with Secretary LaHood and his very able successor, former Charlotte, North Carolina Mayor Anthony Fox, to maintain and improve America's transportation systems and networks, the backbone of America's economy.